every single council district. We're here at Westview Cemetery along the M.L. King Jr. Drive corridor, and we are so happy that Trees Atlanta has chosen this spot, Westview Cemetery, to plant over 40 trees today. We're here with over 100 volunteers. Trees are vital to oxygen. We depend on them for wildlife, and we are so happy to have planted over 500 trees at the end of today, celebrating Plantlanta here in the city of Atlanta. I want to thank Trees Atlanta and all of their magnificent staff and volunteers for being here.
I'm Phyllis Jackson. Welcome to Stay at Home Connect.
Coronavirus cases up now in every single state in the country, placing a major strain on our nation's hospitals and ICUs, as well as frontline medical staff. The CDC now projecting 30,000 additional deaths by Thanksgiving. Gwinnett County ranking second in the state for coronavirus cases. I caught up with Dr. Audrey Arona, the director of the Department of Public Health for Gwinnett, Rockdale, and Newton counties.
We have seen a slight increase in the 14-day case rates and positivity. And so that does concern us, of course, but, the real message lies in what we have to do to stop that uptick right now. And I believe that a lot of it may just be due to COVID fatigue. We're just so tired of hearing about all this, but it could not be more important to continue the preventive messages that we know work and are the only things that we have at this stage to work against the spread of this virus. And that is social distance, wearing a mask, washing your hands, staying home when you're sick, staying away from other people who are sick. And of course, get the flu shot this time of year so that we don't have that add on to our current situation.
The median age for cases is 38. Dr. Arona says these numbers should remind us all that this is an incurable virus. There is no vaccine, and the only treatment available is for the most seriously ill patients. It has to be given intravenously during a hospitalization. As cases surge in Michigan, those who enjoy dinner or drink at an area restaurant or bar will need to leave more than a tip. Officials with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services want their phone numbers. Patrons are required to provide the information for contact tracing in the event they are exposed to someone infected with coronavirus. Similar protocols have also been set up in New York State. Atlanta City Council member Marcy Collier Overstreet joins Invest Atlanta for the District 11 Small Business Lending webinar.
That's a wrap. We'll see you on the next edition of Stay at Home Connect.
Since yesterday, we lost an additional 31 lives for a total of 9,418 deaths. These are people who started with us in 2020 and won't be with us at the Thanksgiving table.
Her emotion resonating with a nation caught in the throes of this pandemic. Dr. Ngozi Ezike turning away from the cameras to gather her thoughts. Dr. Ezike took some time out to speak with me about that moment and the virus's impact on the state of Illinois.
What touched you? What was specifically so significant about that reading during that time last week?
I wish there was a way to exactly pinpoint it and explain exactly where that came from. Obviously, this has been welling up for months and months and months. And so, in retrospect, I guess I would say it's, the culmination of all the things you talked about, the frustration, the anxiety, the pain, a little bit of anger, to be quite frank, just bubbling up to the surface at just a very public time. Wouldn't have ever wished for something like that to happen in such a public moment, but I'm just overwhelmed by the support and just everyone feeling like that cathartic release was for everyone, that we're all feeling the same.
As colder temperatures descend upon the state, Dr. Ezike says Illinois is seeing steady increases in test positivity rates, hospitalizations, and deaths. Dr. Ezike says the 20-somethings represent the highest case rates.
As recently as last week, we had an 18-year-old succumb to this virus, a healthy 18-year-old. So I know the statistics, but it's kind of like playing a game of Russian roulette where, you don't know if you will be that one. And so why don't we all take the stance of preventing it?
We cannot control this situation without masking and distancing. We cannot.
Dr. Ezike and her team have been passionately fighting against this virus, believing that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Although many are suffering from pandemic fatigue, she says the virus has not grown weary. We have to be more.
We are running a couple minutes late. The City Utilities Committee ran long earlier today, and so we are in the process of setting up our system on the back end, and we'll be ready to get started in just a couple minutes.
Welcome to Stay at Home Connect. I'm Phyllis Jackson.
Officials with the CDC say pregnancy creates a higher risk of
This is
severe
Matt
illness from
again, Chair of
coronavirus.
the Community Development and Human Services Committee. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to take a couple voice votes and improvise a little bit so we can begin our meeting and then start voting electronically a little bit later. I am joined on the line right now by Council members Carla Smith, Antonio Brown, and Joy Shepard, as well as Council President Felicia Moore. Council members Faroki, Bond, and Archibong will be joining us shortly. Ms. Polendini, will you read the remote meeting statement, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this Community Development Human Services Committee meeting is being conducted remotely as advertised and as in accordance with OCGA 50-14-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the 43 conference ID 831-599-1256, which was noted on the November 3rd, 2020 public meeting notice. The public may also view the meeting on Channel 26, the Council's homepage at citycouncil.atlantagA.gov, the Council's YouTube channel, or the Council's Facebook and Twitter pages via @ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council Community Development Human Services Committee presentation page. The agenda was published and made available on November 6, 2020 via atlantacitygA.iqm2.com. In addition, the public was able to submit comments via voicemail at 404-330-6089 between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. the day before this meeting. All persons present on the remote council meeting conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Additionally, speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Each council member is requested to open your Outlook email and minimize the screen. Amendments, substitutes, and informational documents have been distributed to committee members beforehand. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, you should have received an email 1 minute ago with the instructions to log in. As you are doing that, I will make a motion to adopt our agenda. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Got a motion by Westmoreland and a second by Brown. Why don't we go ahead and open that up, and I'll take voice votes from anyone who needs to do that.
One moment, please. Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind, I will conduct a roll call voice vote for this. We have you as the mover and Councilmember Brown as the seconder. Councilmember Smith? Yes. Councilmember Shepard? Is Councilmember Shepard on the line?
Yes, I was not. They had to unmute me. Yes.
Thank you. That is 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
I'll make a motion to approve our minutes. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Got a motion by Brown and a second by Westmoreland, second by Brown. Ms. Smith, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Ms. Shepard?
Yes.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes are adopted. Will you please play our public comment?
One moment, please.
And rejoining, giving us the Spirit of Christ, but show first unto them of Damascus and at Jerusalem, and to all the coasts of Judea, and then to the Gentiles, that they should repent and turn to God and do works meet for repentance. Acts 26, chapter 20th verse. Paul went to various cities preaching the word, asking that they show forth true forgiveness of sins. I must ask you this means how to have a heart that is godly sorrow for my sin, and you should too, that they may take part of this ministry and apostleship from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. Acts 1st chapter 25th verse. There Montgomery say, me and Jesus, who called him to live holy. But James sought for money. To obtain money from wicked ways is to ask for death. But many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Mark 13 chapter 6 verse. Take heed throughout this chapter, Jesus consistently stresses not this coming event, but the proper response and lifestyle of his disciples. He will swallow up death in victory, and the Lord God shall wipe away tears from all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall be taken away from off all the earth. For the Lord has spoken it, Isaiah 25th chapter 8 verse. Yet God will swallow up death in victory, and the Lord God will wipe away tears. This is the end time of revelation for those who suffered for Christ. It's a blessing to suffer for Christ, but your flesh fight against it. Fight against the will of Christ for our life to live holy. And God promises salvation, deliverance, and also care for those who desire that way. Obey Jesus is the blessing.
Greetings, City Council members and staff. A special greeting to you, citizens of Atlanta, watching and listening to your government in action and taking note about how comments from the public are treated. Ben Howard, senior advocate, public policy analyst. In Washington, D.C. by now is the city of Atlanta's 5-year citizen participation plan. Now that the national political warfare is waning, House and Senate oversight committees might have time to delve into that 5-year plan, to take it and see through it. Many people, out of 500,000 people in the city of Atlanta, spoke out at what was called a citizen plan hearing. That hearing was not held at a time convenient for most citizens of Atlanta, but at a time convenient only for those in city government. Absent from that hearing on behalf of NPUR citizens was any member of the NPUR 9? Of course not. The perceived objective of the NPUR 9 syndicate is to restrict participation on the part of residents and stakeholders of neighborhood planning unit R. On the average, fewer than 1% of eligible senior citizens and stakeholders within neighborhood planning unit R can be found in attendance at any NPUR meetings. To a meeting of neighborhood planning unit R several months ago, came a group of citizens, including residents of a HUD-supported senior citizen facility, in an attempt to be placed on the agenda to air the concerns of citizens along the Campton Road corridor. That attempt was rejected by the NPUR 9, as with two previous attempts on the part of those citizens. Perhaps this committee might intervene again, as it did a few years ago, to investigate all of the complaints about neighborhood planning unit R, and this time hold a public hearing so citizen participation can win out instead of demagoguery. We will, of course, encourage again to take no action on behalf of the citizenry by the followers, supporters, and enablers of NPUR 9, Anthony Robinson, Carlos Blair, Ricardo Jacobs, Renette L. Scott, Alvin Slate, Allison Hathaway, Jerry Williams, and the NPUR 9.
All right. That concludes our public comment, and we will now move on to communications.
Item number 1, 20-C-0104, a communication from Council President Felicia A. Moore, reappointing Mr. David Holder to serve as a member of the Stadium Neighborhoods Trust Fund Committee. This appointment is for a term of 3 years.
Mr. Holder, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. You'll tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to serve on this committee.
So I am David Holder. I've lived in one of the pioneers in the community. I've lived in the neighborhood roughly about 14 years. I've served various boards throughout the community and for the county. Recently, I was a 9-year president of the Mechanicsville Civic Association. I'm currently on the board now, and I serve in the capacity of MPU. I do have a drive for community and helping others. So I recently was on the board for the Stadium Neighborhood Trust Fund, but I feel like there's still more work to be done, and I just want to be reappointed back to the board.
Appreciate your willingness to serve. Ms. Smith.
Yes. Hey, David. I want to make a motion to approve, but we've got to amend this. This is for him to be reappointed and made vice chair of the executive board. So the council president appoints the vice chair, and the mayor appoints the chair, and we've got a paper coming from the mayor's office. So the vice chair from this last term is now moving into the chair spot, and then David is going to move into the vice chair spot. So I need to amend this to serve as a member of the Stadium Neighborhood Trust Fund to serve as the vice chair. So I need to amend, thank you, to add those words.
Second that motion to amend. Will you open that vote, please?
One moment, please.
We have also been joined by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond.
And Amir.
Yes, and Amir Faruqi. Mr. Brown, are you there?
Yep, I'm here, Mr. Chair. I'm an affirmative.
Okay.
And the vote is open.
There we go. All right. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The amendment has passed. Ms. Smith, would you like to make a motion to
approve as amended?
Thank you.
Second. The previous motion.
Yes, sir. So 6 yeas on the motion to amend. We've got a motion by Smith to approve as amended and a second by Bond.
One moment, please.
Mr. Brown, how would you like to vote?
Affirmative, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have 6 yeas, 0 nays. That appointment is approved. Thank you, Mr. Holder.
Thanks, David. And he's done a great job. So we're glad to have you back and as vice chair.
All right. Well, thanks, Council Member Smith, and the rest of the council members.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Alrighty.
Next up.
Item number 2, 20-C-0105, a communication from Elizabeth Coyle, Chair of the Beltline Network, Inc., submitting the appointment of Mr. Peter Kitchen to serve on the Atlanta Beltline Tax Allocation District Advisory Committee. This appointment is for a term of 2 years.
Mr. Kitchen, are you there?
Mr. Chair, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Would you briefly introduce yourself to us and tell us why you'd like to serve?
Thank you. Peter Kitchen. I'd like to serve because I use the Beltline frequently every day. Secondly, I have a mix of experience from an educational perspective in urban planning and from a professional experience in commercial real estate portfolio management and development. I think I could add value regarding execution of the TAB bonds and bring commercial real estate expertise to that body.
Thank you very much. If there are no questions or comments, I will make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Got a motion by Westmoreland, a second by Bond.
I'm an affirmative, Mr. Chair.
Thank you much. Six yeas, 0 nays. That item is adopted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item.
Number 3, 20-C-0106, a communication from Councilmember Antonio Brown, Council District 3, appointing Ms. Carrie Salvery to serve as a member of the Rodney Cook Senior Park Historic Oversight Committee.
Ms. Salvery, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to serve?
Sure. First, I'd like to say good afternoon, Mr. Westmoreland, and to all the other committee members. It is an honor to be chosen to serve on the Cook Park Oversight Committee. I am a 27-year resident of Vine City, and I live 1 block east of the park. I've been very active in the rejuvenation efforts of Vine City through the Tyler Place Community Development Corporation. I've been an active member and served in various offices of the NPU and the Vine City Civic Association over the years. I was very active in working alongside Councilmember Ira Lee Young in the stabilization and the resettlement of the victims of the 2002 flood that created the land for the development and construction of the Cook Park. I am eternally grateful to Councilmember Antonio Brown for bestowing this honor upon me. I am also super excited about the impact that the park will have on historic Vine City.
Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. Mr. Brown, would you like to bring a motion? You there, Mr. Brown?
Second.
I'll make a motion to adopt, and there's a second from Mr. Bond.
I'm in the affirmative, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. I apologize.
That's okay. I can hear you now, and we will mark you in the affirmative. Ms. Shepard, how would you like to vote? There we go. 6 yeas, 0 nays. That appointment is adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
You too. Next item.
Number 4, 20-C-107, a communication from Jennifer McIntosh, Chair of NPUL, submitting the appointment of Mr. Anthony Bullock.
Ms. Bullock, cut out a little bit. Mr. Bullock, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome. Can you introduce yourself to us, please?
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Anthony Bullock. I'm an attorney by trade. By way of reference, I'm former chief counsel of the Senate of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and former executive director of the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College and two-time resident of Vine City, both during college and then thereafter. I have been active in this community, serving as general counsel to the Vine City Civic Association and former chair of the Land Use Committee for Neighborhood Planning L, and currently the president of the Common, the Historic Westside Village Town Homeowners Association. Practice employment law and lead the federal employment practice for Morgan & Morgan nationwide. I'm an active person in the community. love Vine City and love what it stands for, and happy to serve in any capacity I can.
Thank you,
Motion to approve, Mr.
Yep. Got a motion by Brown. Mr. Bond, would you like to second? All right. Motion by Brown, which I will second. You'll open that vote.
Second, this Morehouse.
Okay. All right. 6 yeas, 0 nays. That appointment is adopted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item.
Grumpy Simon, Westside Senior Program Officer of the Arthur M. Blanks Family Foundation, accepting service to the Rodney Cook Senior Park Historic Oversight Committee.
All right. This appointee will appear on December 1st, so I will make a motion to hold.
Second, Brown.
Got a motion by Westmoreland and a second by Brown. Mr. Bond, how would you like to vote? There we go. And Ms. Shepard. Awesome. 6 yeas, that item is held. Next item.
The next item is number 6, 20-B-0109, a communication from Mr. Michael Halicki, Executive Director of Park Pride, accepting service to the Rodney Cook Senior Park Historic Oversight Committee.
Mr. Halicki, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with you today.
Appreciate it. I suspect most of us know you, but if you'd like to share anything about why you'd like to serve on this committee, that'd be great.
Sure. I appreciate the opportunity to serve on this committee. I do serve as the Executive Director of Park Pride. It's a position I've held for the past 7 years. Park Pride is a 30-year-old nonprofit that helps to support engaging communities to activate the power of parks. And we work with, we have a number of different programs and services that as Cook Park moves from its creation to its ongoing activation that can be available to the community. They include a friends group, the fiscal partner account to raise dollars for the park, as well as access to grants. So I would love to play a role helping to make sure that this park is a welcome and inclusive place for Atlantans and is a resource for the community. I also will mention that Park Pride has played a role on the west side going back to 2010, where we put together a Proctor North Avenue green infrastructure vision that envisioned a series of different parks and helped to support the creation of both Cook Park as well as a number of different parks in the English Avenue and Vine City neighborhood. So we have been very actively involved on the west side and would like to make sure that the community and residents in the area around Cook Park are able to make full use of all those programs and services to make sure the park is the community resource we all know it can be.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Got a motion by Westmoreland and a second by Brown. Six yeas, 0 nays. That appointment is favorable. Thanks, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Have a good one. Last but not least.
Item number 7, 20-C-0110, a communication from Mr. George Dusenberry to Southern Hub Director for the Trust for Public Land, accepting service to the Rodney Cook Senior Park Historic Oversight Committee.
Mr. Dusenberry, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing, Mr. Chairman?
Doing well. I think we're all familiar with the Trust for Public Land's role in the park, but if you want to say hello to everyone, that'd be great as well.
I would like to say a quick hello and take the opportunity, to talk about Trust Public Land and my personal involvement with the community. So Trust Public Land is a national organization, been around 50 years, 30 in Georgia. We helped create the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Park. We helped with a lot of the green space along the Beltline and the Chattahoochee River. In 2015, the City of Atlanta and the Blank Foundation approached us and asked us to get involved with Cook Park, the Mims Park, to design it, raise funds, and helping to build it. We said yes, stepped in, worked with the community in the city to design the park, raised $13.4 million, worked with the city to build the park, which we will be opening probably in about a month. So very excited to see that come to fruition. On a personal level, I first started working on the West Side community past 2003 when I was district director for Congressman John Lewis, and we were working with then Councilmember Young on trying to save the historic capitals. The DCB was there at the time. And then I was at Park Pride, and Michael, we actually worked to create Vine City Park, working with Brian Amos and others at the time to help build that. So, helped build Vine City Park, was there for the 2010 Green Infrastructure Plan for the West Side, and then have been active with the Trust for Public Lands on Cook Park. We believe that community is at the center of our work at the Trust for Public Lands, and helping to create the Friends Group and empower the community to take ownership of the park is something that we're very interested in doing. So I'd be honored to be able to serve on this. Thank you.
I will make a motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Westmoreland motion, second Brown. Six yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yep. Next up, colleagues, is our single presentation of the day from the Land Bank, formerly known as the Atlanta Fulton County Land Bank, and its head, Mr. Christopher Norman. Mr. Norman, how are you doing?
Thanks for having me. All right. I was just unmuted. So welcome. I'm doing well. Thanks for the invitation to come back before the committee and provide an update on the Land Bank Authority. So I believe you have the presentation that I forwarded before, and so we'll ask them to go ahead and prep that and bring that forward. So last time that I came before the committee, Mr. Chairman, it was in May of this year. So happy to be able to provide an update of what we have been up to since that point in time. So I will go ahead and proceed. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me real time, or can hold them to the end. I'll leave that up to you. So the first, as we move through the presentation, let me just have my copy here. So as we move through the presentation, I want to walk you through a couple of items. One is really more policy and administrative related to the organization. Then talk specifically about some transactional actions of the Land Bank Authority, and then give you an update on the operational and financial status of the Land Bank. So if you could just go ahead and proceed to, and the slides are numbered, so we'll go to slide number 4 here. So rebranding is the first thing that comes up for a point of conversation under the policy administrative. So the Land Bank Authority has been, growing over the years. We've been approached by several cities within Fulton to become members of the Land Bank Authority, which by law and statute they are allowed to do. So last time I was before the committee in May, I previewed the strategic plan, the new 5-year strategic plan for the Land Bank Authority, which has been since that time adopted by the Board of Directors of the Land Bank Authority, and that is actively in place now. And one of the tactical issues under the strategic plan was a rebranding of the Land Bank Authority. And so we have moved forward with that to activate that particular one. So if we go to slide number 5 here, we have moved forward to adopt a DBA of the Metro Atlanta Land Bank. So that would be the new DBA. The legal name for the Land Bank Authority is remaining the Fulton County City of Atlanta Land Bank Authority, Inc., until at any point in the future we decide we need to legally change that. But going forward, you will see the new logo, the new name, emphasis on the strategic areas of activity for the Land Bank Authority, which is really focused on affordable housing, creating vibrant communities, and providing economic opportunity as we really move forward with bringing blighted, distressed, abandoned, dilapidated properties back online throughout the city of Atlanta. So one is going to give everyone a heads up that is what we are pivoting to become. There'll be a new logo that's also there. And so there will be an unveiling soon. Everybody will be notified of that, of a new website. There'll be new emails to go along with that. And then we're also going to activate social media, which we have really not done up to this point. So there'll be a Facebook interface. LinkedIn will be updated. And then, of course, Instagram will all be active for the land bank. And so it'll be a little bit more real-time update availability for everyone, and closer interaction with the community and with our stakeholders. So proud to unveil that to everyone, and this will be what you will see us as going forward. And the Metro Atlanta, just to give everybody a sense of how do we arrive at that, is really to accommodate bringing in additional cities within the county. And we felt that would be a great way to everybody relates to Atlanta and the metro area, to keep the DNA of the city of Atlanta, which has been a very strong supporter of the land bank over the years, and carry that forward in the profile. If we could go to the next slide here. So along with that, we felt it was time to do an update of the policies and procedures that govern the Land Bank Authority. And so if we go to the next slide, which is slide number 7. So slide number 7, you will see a document. It's really a summary document that outlines the policies and procedures, particularly dealing with the acquisition and disposition of property for the Land Bank Authority. So this is a summary document. This is really an outline, skeletal outline of the policies and procedures. Didn't want to inundate everybody with the full document on this presentation, but we will definitely make that available to all members of the committee and the council and any other stakeholders that want the actual full document. That document going forward will be posted to the website for download, so that'll be available. But just want to kind of give you this document, give you a sense of, we really did a deep dive to cover through a variety of policies and procedures, because we found that oftentimes there is either not a lack of understanding or really lack of familiarity from a lot of our stakeholders regarding the granular aspects of how we do business. So we updated our policies and procedures. We engaged attorney Sarah Toring with the Center for Community Progress. She's a senior fellow there, and she worked with us and our general counsel and our internal staff team to update this particular set of policies and procedures. And Sarika Bashir, who's our program director for the Land Bank, she kind of ran point on this project. And so I'm not going to walk you through everything in this particular document, but you will see as you go through it, it makes clear such things as, you know, what are our strategic uses of property? You know, what can we use them for categorically? Again, affordable housing, neighborhood revitalization, economic development, and conservation, particularly community gardeners, kind of areas of focus that we just make clear that that's kind of what we're focused on. And then it walks you through, you know, how do we determine priorities for who we do business with? How do we actually acquire property? And what are the policies relative to that? You know, how do we determine pricing? What's our policy procedures for that? It takes you through that. It also deals with, in the instance in which we engage with tax delinquent property, how do we proceed to do those types of acquisitions? Just making that very clear to everyone. And then assuming we've already acquired this property from multiple areas, how do we dispose of it? And so there's more detail to how we do that. How do we interface with nonprofits, for-profits, the government? Then also, if we determine that it's necessary to just sell property that's long or strategic on the market, you know, how do we do that? And then also it speaks to, if we have property that just happens to be next to an occupied unit, is there opportunity for that owner to have a side lot acquisition? And so that makes that clear. Last time I was here, I also spoke to you about the permanent affordability pilot, which is really dealing with land trust property that's basically put in motion based on the community land trust model. And on page number 9, you kind of see this categorization of the different ways of disposing property, and also issues of earnest money. Excuse me. What would that entail? How much will be asked, and is it even an option? So that's kind of made clear. And then kind of walks through again collaboration on profits and for-profits, et cetera. And then on page number 10, it just speaks again to the fact that all of these things are subject to the approval of our board, and making sure clear to everyone that it is not in the power of the staff to dispose, but everything runs to our board of directors. And then as exhibits, we provide a little bit more detail about specific breakouts of programs. That just walks you through, and I want to give everybody an update that we have actually done that. This has been approved by the board of directors back in last month, actually in October. So this is recent, and so now that is available for everyone to peruse and for everyone to see. Any questions? Okay. So we'll move on to the transactional nature of the land bank's business, which is on slide number 14. So first up is the Secure Neighborhood Initiative, and that's done with the Atlanta Police Foundation, and that's on slide 15. So if we proceed to slide 16, you'll actually see in your package a depiction of a piece of property. And members of the council are probably familiar with this because this did come before council for approval. So this is a part of the surplus inventory of the city. 0 Bender Street was the address, and the parcel ID is what we really govern ourselves by. You see that. So this is a property located in Pittsburgh that it was a great piece of property to convey to the Atlanta Police Foundation to produce affordable housing with a particular emphasis on housing for police officers. And so we have been working with the city law department, Department of City Planning, also with the Atlanta Police Foundation to put this property into commerce. And so, 17, you'll kind of see the aerial depiction of this property and where it sits. So as it stands right now, this is a vacant lot. There's nothing on it, so it's an ideal place to start with in terms of creating that. And so I did include the documentation that's probably familiar to everyone here, just as background. That this came through the city council. It still provides the housing impact statement that was provided by the city to all the representatives here. That starts on page 18. You'll see the 19, the actual ordinance that was put forth that supported the conveyance of this. And so particularly there are a few nuances to point out. This piece of property is being conveyed to the Land Bank Authority. We have then conveyed it to the Atlanta Police Foundation with a couple of stipulations. One, they have 3 years, they have 36 months to actually produce the first housing unit on this particular piece of property. So they have 3 years to do all they need to do to bring that to fruition. In the event that they fail to do that, the property will revert back directly to the city. So whereas it went from the city to the land bank to the police foundation, leaving the inventory of the city, if there is a default on the behalf of the police foundation and they fail to produce housing within 3 years, it comes directly back to the city. And that was the plan from the beginning. And so we're finalizing all the documentation there, and that conveyance will be completed shortly. And just as, again, as background information, I provided the city council action. So you can see that was basically back in May when this particular happened. So we've been working on it for a few months, but it's a great project. We've done additional projects with the Police Foundation under the Secure Neighborhood Initiative in the Edgewood-Kirkwood area, some other neighborhoods. We've actually provided housing to officers. In this case, the property is coming from the city's inventory. We've received property from banks under the REO inventories. So this turned out to be a very productive relationship with the land bank, the city, and the Police Foundation, and we're happy to have another iteration of this particular process. So it takes us to our next transactional program, which is referenced on page 24 of the number slides. So if we go to slide 25, you actually have the actual intergovernmental agreement that has been entered into. This is executed between the City of Atlanta and the Land Bank Authority, basically to support the abatement property program. So the City of Atlanta, over the years, as it spells out in the whereas clauses here, has exercised their right and authority to demolish properties throughout the City of Atlanta Typically, when it's done, there's a lien that's associated with property that reflects the investment by the city in that piece of property. The city has now moved forward to proceed with foreclosures on those properties. And this intergovernmental agreement basically allows for the city of Atlanta to work with the Land Bank Authority to receive the properties that basically come forward as a result of those foreclosure actions. And so we'll be working in conjunction with the city, as well as Invest Atlanta primarily, to move these properties back into production. And as you'll see throughout this particular document here, particularly page 26 and 27 lays out the details of that these properties will then be moved into production. They're going to consist primarily of residential properties from single-family, multifamily properties. There'll be a few commercial properties involved in this as well. And so the determination of how they will be put forth for and have development partners and all the things will be determined. That's underway. The actual street addresses and parcel IDs are not included as part of this presentation. Some of those are ongoing real estate transactions, so we did not bring those forward. But did want to make everyone aware that this is something that is underway and that the Land Bank is excited about its role in receiving and working with all the partners here to proceed to bring these properties back to bear. And you'll see that within the intergovernmental, this was adopted back in August of this year by City Council and the Mayor to actually allow for us to enter into this intergovernmental agreement. And again, so it has been executed, and this is in action as we speak. And then we'll proceed to our next, just an update, and that's on slide 30. So this is just an operational update. Last time we spoke, just want to kind of give everyone a sense of how we're operating. We're still operating akin to the City of Atlanta. Our office the employees are all working from home. We do use our office space, which is at 34 Peachtree, for periodic things such as retrieval of documents, signing of checks and things of that nature. But primarily all of our staff is working from home. I personally attend the office occasionally just for things that require my attention. But even as doing this presentation today, I'm operating from home like everyone else. So I did want to give everybody a sense of the fact that we are still remote in terms of how we're proceeding. We again remind everyone we bought computers for everyone, laptops, so everybody is able to operate from home, and they have printer capability at home as well and scanning. So we're pretty functional, and we've been able to, as you can see by the updates I'm providing, to continue with the business of the Land Bank Authority. And then lastly, under the financial update, give you a sense of where we are financially. So on number 20, slide 32, as you may recall, last time I was before the committee, the Land Bank had a little bit of financial distress. And on slide number 32, it actually has a graphical representation of our cash balances and kind of how we're doing. So you see really beginning of this year, things have gotten pretty lean with the Land Bank Authority in terms of our cash reserves. And so we implemented a surplus property program in which we actually liquidated a few parcels that were non-strategic to the Land Bank. And you'll see from the graph that we have actually had a fairly significant rise in our cash proceeds. We actually just received an additional $400,000 transaction that's not on this chart. So the Land Bank now is operationally sound, and so we are in a good position to proceed without any types of issues relative to support of our operational overhead. And so that puts us in a good place to focus on the business at hand of the Land Bank, and this kind of graphically lays out how we have moved forward. And so we actually have enough capital here to have a little bit of comfort going into next year. We'll still require the support from the City of Atlanta and the support from the Fulton County government from general funds, but we've also made a strategic decision, and that was reflected in our strategic plan, to generate a significant amount of revenue each year just transactionally to support the activity, and we feel confident that we can do that. So that really takes us through the full update of the Land Bank Authority. The next slide, page 33, just speaks to the fact that as we do this, there is a goal. The goal is to create affordable and market housing for our stakeholders in the City of Atlanta. to work with everyone to eliminate blight as possible and dilapidation and turn property to a productive use. This in turn helps to continue to revitalize our neighborhoods. They also pointed out that controlling land is imperative as we do this because that really gives us a lot more leverage in terms of our ability to impact outcomes from our neighborhood on a street level. And so that gives you the update. So at this point, that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we are going to get ourselves started with Ms. Shepherd.
Well, Mr. Norman, I want to thank you. And the presentation you did on Bender was great. That's in my district. It was really ironic. In the last week, we've actually talked about that project with another developer who actually is doing development in front of the Bender. There's a vacant lot at the corner of Metropolitan and Shelton. As you come off, and then right as you get past Shelton, you make a right on Bender. Bender, really, that whole area there is now going to go boom in the night because you have the Police Foundation building there, and you're going to have market rate townhouses going to be built in front of you all. And so, I think that's a great collaboration. And of course, the reason they're building there is because you can walk from there up to the Promise Center, which is only a block up the street. So I appreciate you all collaborating to make that happen with the Police Foundation. We're really excited about that in the Pittsburgh community. Thank you. And I appreciate it. I think that you all are doing some other stuff in the Pittsburgh community, too. I know that's one of my neighborhoods where you get a lot of abatement in terms of houses and things like that. And I want to thank you for all you've done to really continue to actually get rid of the blight in the Pittsburgh community. So I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome. We're happy to collaborate with everyone.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Any other questions or comments from folks? All right. Thank you much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, colleagues. Next up are our 12 ordinances for first reading. I believe there are many of them. So take it away.
Right, item number 8, 20-0-1699, CDP-20-023, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 625 Boulevard Northeast from the high-density residential land use designation to the mixed-use medium-density land use designation, and for the purposes D-20-044, NPUM Council District 2. Item number 9, 20-0-1700, CDP-20-026, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 993, 997, 1003, and 1007 Boulevard Southeast from the single-family residential land use designation to the medium-density residential land use designation, and for the purposes D-20-049 and PUW Council District 1. Item number 10, 20-0-1701, CDP-20-030, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 21 Daniel Street Southeast from the low-density commercial land use designation to the high-density residential land use designation, and for other purposes, C-20-052 NPUM Council District 2. Item number 11, 20-0-1702, CDP-20-031, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1136 Sylvan Road Southwest from the industrial land use designation to the mixed-use low-density land use designation, and for other purposes, D-20-053 and PUX Council District 12. Item number 12, 20-0-1703, CDP-20-032, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1190, 1194, and 1200 McDonald Drive Southeast from the single-family residential land use designation to the high-density residential land use designation, and for the purposes D-20-055 and PUY Council District 1. Item number 13, 20-0-1704, CDP-20-033, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 74, 84, 88, 92, 103, and 105 Flat Shoals Road Southeast, 107, 111, 117, 121, 145, 151, and 157 Gibson Street Southeast from the single-family residential land use designation to the mixed-use medium-density land use designation, and 927 Wiley Street Southeast, 95 Flat Shoals Road Southeast, 930, 933, 934, 943, 946, 948, 949, and 953 Kirkwood Avenue Southeast, 146 Holtz Claw Southeast, 941, 945, 949, and 951 Manigault Street Southeast from the industrial land use designation to the mixed-use medium-density land use designation and for other purposes, D-20-061 NPUN Council District 5. Item number 14, 20-0-1705, CDP-20-034, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 575 and 585 Boulevard Place Northeast from the low-density residential land use designation to the high-density residential land use designation and for other purposes, D-20-063 NPUN Council District 2. Item number 15, 20-0-1706, CDP-20-035, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1565 Moreland Avenue Southeast, aka 1575 Moreland Avenue Southeast rear from the single-family residential land use designation to the mixed-use low-density land use designation and for other purposes, D-20-066 NPUW Council District 1. Item number 16, 20-0-1707, CDP-20-036, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 420 McDonough Boulevard Southeast from the low-density commercial land use designation to the high-density residential land use designation, 450 Galt Street Southeast from the medium-density residential land use, or the medium-density residential and high-density commercial land use designation to the high-density residential land use designation, and 499, 501, and 505 Federal Terrace Southeast, 1440, 1446, 1450, and 1456 12th Street Southeast from the single-family residential land use designation to the medium-density residential land use designation and for the purposes D-20-071 NPUY Council District 1. Item number 17, 20-0-1708, CDP-20-037, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 552 Boulevard Place Northeast from the low-density residential land use designation to the medium-density residential land use designation and for other purposes, D-20-064 NPUM Council District 2. Item number 18, 20-0-1709, CDP-20-039, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 2741 Glenwood Avenue Southeast from the single-family residential land use designation to the low-density residential land use designation and for other purposes, C-20-073 NPUO Council District 5. And item number 19, 20-0-1710, CDP-20-040, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to adopt the NPUH Master Plan, a vision for Adamsville, to amend the 2016 Comprehensive Development Plan by incorporating by reference said plan and for the purposes NPUH Council Districts 9 and 10.
All right. That'll make for a pretty lengthy December 1st meeting. Next up are our ordinances for second reading.
Item number 20, 20-0-1681, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to waive the source selection and payment provisions contained in the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code, including but not limited to Code Section 1547, and to authorize the mayor or designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a lease agreement with the Galloway School, Inc., with the retroactive effective date of November 24, 2019, and which shall run through May 31st, 2022, with no options to renew on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation and for other purposes.
My computer has kicked me off temporarily. Colleagues, are there any questions or comments? All right.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilmember Farokhi. I just want to say I will be abstaining. I do not have a direct interest, financial or otherwise, with the school, though I'm a proud graduate and sat on the board for 10 years, so I just will abstain for clarity's sake.
Okay, good to know. I will go ahead and make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Smith. Unless somebody that's not on the system wants a second.
Got a motion by Westmoreland, a second by Smith.
Vote is open.
Bond and Jay, I got kicked off.
Yeah, me too.
Will everyone please vote? Councilmember Brown, how would you like to vote?
He may have had to leave us. We might need to mark him away.
Okay. We will mark him away in 1 moment, please. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. This item is favorable.
Awesome. Next. Yes, ma'am. Oh, that's right. I'll make a motion to refer to FEC.
Second, Shepard.
The vote is open. Councilmember Bond, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Thank you. And Councilmember Brown, if he's still away?
I believe, yes, for a while now. Or he will be for a while. 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is referred. Next item.
Item number 21, 20-0-1684, an ordinance by Councilmember Justin Hillis to extend the moratorium on the acceptance of any new rezoning applications, building permit applications for new construction, land disturbance permit applications, special use permit applications, special administrative permit applications, subdivision applications, replatting applications, and lot consolidation applications established by Ordinance 20-0-1181. And for the purposes, and there's an amendment in your packet to attach Exhibit A, which is the overlay map.
I'll make a motion to amend. Is there a second?
Second, Shepard.
A motion by Westmoreland, second by Shepard.
The vote is open.
Mr. Bond, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Thank you. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is amended. Commissioner, will you tell us a little about the work that is going on as we extend this moratorium? So we may need to unmute him.
Councilmember Westmoreland, can you hear me? This is Tim Keene.
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. We have continued to work with the community throughout the period of the pandemic. As you remember, the moratorium began right as the pandemic began earlier this year. We've continued our meetings with the community, a variety of city staff involved in those, of course, led by Justin Johnson out of the mayor's office, and progress is being made on a number of fronts. We feel like a little bit more time is needed to address the entirety of what the community's seeking to address during the moratorium. And we'll be bringing forward some specific items that we've been working on in conjunction with the moratorium very soon. those will take a little bit more time as they work through the legislative process. So we felt that the 4 additional months would get us to the finish line for the work that's being done around the Westside 40 Park. So we're seeking, and Councilmember Hillis, of course, has been instrumental in all of this and have submitted this legislation in hopes that Council would approve this extension.
Appreciate that. If there are no questions or comments, I will make a motion to approve.
Second, Shepard.
So motion by Westmoreland, a second by Shepard.
Vote is open.
Mr. Bond, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Thank you much. 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Thank you, Commissioner. Next item.
And this item is a dual referral, so it'll now go before the zoning committee.
Okay.
Item number 22, 20-0-1685, CDP-20-041, an ordinance by Councilmember Joyce M. Shepard to adopt the Council District 12 Neighborhood Blueprint Plan for Hammond Park and Ferguson, to amend the 2016 Comprehensive Development Plan by incorporating by reference said plan and for other purposes, NPU X Council District 12.
Ms. Shepard, I believe we're going to hold this for the CDP hearing, so go for it.
Okay, so we're holding it for CD. Okay, thank you. That's fine.
Okay. I'll make a motion to hold, second by Shepard.
Vote is open.
Six yeas, 0 nays. That item is held. Next item.
Item number 23, 20-0-1686, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone to ratify Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms' executive order calling on the Atlanta Housing Authority, Atlanta Bank, Inc., Fulton County, City of Atlanta Land Bank Authority, Invest Atlanta, Partners for Home, and the City of Atlanta's Department of Grants and Community Development to institute a temporary moratorium on residential evictions and filing, to declare that this moratorium shall remain in effect through December 31st and for other purposes.
If there are no questions or comments, I will make a motion to approve.
Second, Shepard.
Got a motion by Westmoreland, a second by Shepard.
Vote is open.
Six yeas, 0 nays. That item is adopted.
Our next item is number 24, 20-R-4565, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet authorizing the mayor or her designee to enter into contractual agreements with Meals on Wheels Atlanta and Synergy Real Estate Developers LLC to administer the limited repair and rehabilitation program through the Community Development Block Grant funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, having terms of 12 months with 2-year renewable options. All contracted work to be assigned to and charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. And there's a substitute in your packet. The substitute adds a whereas clause about the solicitation, removes the effective date, and attaches missing supplemental documents.
I'll make a motion to bring forward the substitute. Is there a second?
Second, Shepard.
A motion by Westmoreland, second by Shepard.
The vote is open.
Six yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before us. If there are no questions or comments, I will make a motion to adopt on substitute.
Second, Shepard.
Vote is open.
All right, the vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable on substitute. Next item.
Item number 25, 20-R-4606, a resolution by the Community Development and Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or the commissioner of the Department of Parks and Recreation as their designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into an agreement with the Buckhead Community Improvement District, Inc. with regard to Charlie Loudermilk Park and North Buckhead Park and for other purposes.
If there are no questions or comments, I will make a motion to adopt.
Second, Shepherd.
Got a motion by Westmoreland and a second by Shepherd.
Vote is open.
Six yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable. Ms. Shepherd.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple items that are held I'd like to bring off, please.
Okay. Which are those?
Item number 30, 20-0-1401.
Okay.
And then item number 28.
Okay. Why don't we take 28 first? Ms. Fuladini, will you read those two captions?
Yes, item number 28, 20-0-1017, an ordinance by Councilmember Joyce M. Shepherd authorizing the mayor or her designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a home investment partnership program contract with Heartland Station LP in an amount not to exceed $800,000 for the development of affordable multifamily housing at 2074 Fleet Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia 30315 for a term of 24 months and for other purposes.
Ms. Shepherd.
The motion is to file. That developer has found funding a different way, and we don't need that anymore.
Good deal. Motion by Shepherd to file, which I will second.
The vote is open.
And closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is filed. Item number 30.
20-0-1401, CDP-20-010, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2016 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1596 Willowbrook Drive Southwest from the single-family residential land use designation to the low-density residential land use designation, and for the purposes Z-20-11 NPUS Council District 12.
Ms. Shepherd?
That motion is to deny.
Okay.
This is a development that I've been working with the planning department and building department for quite some time. So how building was done was illegal, and the resolution to it actually interacted with the community on it. So we all come to the conclusion to deny. It also has a zoning change that goes with it, so that will be the same in terms of zoning. So the motion is to deny.
Motion by Shepherd, second by Westmoreland.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the motion should be to file or adverse.
Okay, well, adverse. Motion to adverse.
Thank you.
Second by Westmoreland.
The vote is open.
All right, 6 yeas, 0 nays. That item is adverse. Colleagues, that brings us to the end of our legislative agenda. Are there any comments or other items that people would like to discuss?
Mr. Westmore, I just want to make a statement. I am a little concerned about our, and I know it may be from the finance, but maybe this committee also, our funding for COVID-19 in terms of the funding amount of money we have. I was out with entity this weekend, and there was some discussion on that. We have a huge amount of money left that has to be spent by the end of the year for a lot of different things. One of them is evictions and a lot of different things via COVID-19. And I think, according to some of these guys that I was talking to, they're saying that there seems to be a complication with our, with the city. It's going through United Way, but it's hard for us to get the money out because of some complications of technicalities and procedural. I just wanted to look at that if we could, and to have somebody maybe from the department come and talk to us about that next time, just to make sure that we're on par to getting the money out.
No, I have heard some of those concerns myself and share your desire to make sure we are spending down our funds effectively and efficiently by the end of the year. We got an update of sorts at our last, like you, I can't remember if it was at CB or FEC, but I know we heard from folks at the end of October, and they will be back at one of these committees, I don't remember which, on December 1st or 2nd for another update at the next meeting.
And I do know we talked about it in the last committee meeting, but again, I was out in my community this weekend with some of the funders, and they were stressing their stress over it and their concerns about it. And so I'm just re-emphasizing that, and we just need to make sure we stay on top of it.
No, I appreciate that, and to, since we won't be meeting again for another 3 weeks, I'll reach out to the administration and ask them to send a written update to this committee and to finance between now and then we'll receive another report at our next committee.
Thank you. I've notified the administration also, but that would be good what you're talking about doing. That would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Anyone else? All right, Ms. Smith, you want to make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'd love to. Motion to adjourn.
All right, motion by Smith, second by Westmoreland, on unanimous consent of those present. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.